What are you rebuilding?
Oh yeah, we're collecting from all over the place, the old Land Rovers and the old cars of that nature. You have your Land Rover, you have the old Toyotas, and bringing them back to the original form. These are ones that are very very old because they're just so cool. We thought, hey, let's bring them back and maybe put an LT Corvette engine in it, or a Hemi, or do something really cool with that. So that's a lot of fun. And of course, I have my own cars I play with.
An extensive car collection? Do you have one?
I have. Well, it goes all the way back from I have 1927, for example, Ford Top Boy. They're the tall ones, right? But all custom, other than the body, which is original. Everything underneath it is custom, and it's really cool. I have a 28 Ford panel truck that I really love. If you go a little further ahead, I have a 49 Rolls, and it's like one of these Salsa sedans where the chauffeur drives in front in a convertible, real long front end, big headlights, and there's only room in back for three people. That's really a cool car. And I have two James Bond cars. James Bond did not drive a Bentley. He did not drive he drove a Bentley. He didn't drive an Aston Martin or a Toyota. He drove a Bentley. He drove a Bentley Continental R. And they wrote about that in Ian Fleming's book. That's what he had him driving. So I went and bought one, a basket job. Took 2 years to rebuild it to an official 100-point car. Oh, I love that car so much that I bought Eric Clapton's car. He had one like it. There's not a lot of them out there, by the way. And
Wow.
that is just so much fun. And then with American cars, my favorite car of everything that I kind of have with Alexis, we have it like together as a project, is this incredible 1957 Chevy Bel Air. It is candy apple red. It's so customized. My dear friend Angus Mitchell did it for me as a favor. He made that the coolest car in the world. If I owned this car in high school, opposed to my junker 52 Ford that hardly ever ran, okay, I would have owned the high school. It is so cool looking. That's one of my favorites, but I have several others. These are just a few. I have a couple old Ferraris that are unique. Got to have a 62 Testarossa Roadster, which is very, very rare. And I have a 1967 275 GTB4, which is kind of a rare car too. And then I have other cars along the way there, but these are some of my favorites. What car do I drive every day is my everyday car? In Austin, Texas, my everyday car, even though Ferraris are in the garage and all that, my everyday car is a Chevy Tahoe. Just a regular Chevy. That's my everyday car.
Utility. It's great.
But I'll pull the other cars out of the garage every now and then and cruise.
Before we get back to this interview, I want to say that this episode is brought to you by Connected by Reynolds and Reynolds. If you want to hear great conversations and Greg Ulan going deep with guests on everything from used car acquisitions to finding your niche and selling to it, I recommend adding Connected to your podcast rotation. Now let's get back to my interview.
You've got a number of car stories, as I rereferenced in the beginning.
Whole bunch.
And I want to talk about the 20-year-old Rolls Royce, the one that you lived in.
Oh boy, yeah,
Tell me about that.
That was a 1960 Silver Cloud 2. It wasn't in the best of shape, but it still was there. I was trying to rebuild the car, and I kind of went broke. I went broke because I had a good job. My life wasn't going very good with my wife at the time, so all this money was coming in for this new company called John Paul Mitchell Systems. I was starting with my pal. Anyways, the money never came in. So it was the older of the two cars and the one that was not in the best of shape because I was rebuilding it. So I took it down the hill to get the money. The money never came in. Anyways, it ended up being my house for a few weeks. And of course, the rest of the story of how Paul Mitchell started was $700. That's all we had. Lived in my car, figured out a way to make it. And I think the documentary Good Fortune is a good way to tell it. Now, you may want to tell your listening audience, it was removed after 8 years being on Amazon, everything else. They're putting it back on in 1 month because of popular demand. It's called Good Fortune. And it's a documentary on how to start not only Paul Mitchell living in a car and not doing very well in life at that time, a little sad, a few bad things were not going on so well. And then it just goes on to how I started Patron 9 years later, not knowing a thing about the tequila business. I think it's a good example of how to be kind along the way, treat people really kind, and how to make it in life with little to nothing.